Good evening, intuitives. Today I wanted to get into a more personal video that I've thought about doing for a couple weeks, but, never had the bravery to do it until now. And as always, these videos are my opinions, and one of the largest reasons why this channel exists is so people can have a straightforward, unedited video of somebody talking about things that a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable talking about because there is a societal ingrained stigma about them. And, to fully understand this video, I suggest that you watch my video, the INFJ and PTSD. Prior to this one, I'll put the link down there too. But this video will build on top of that, because what the title of this one is, and make the thumbnail make sense too, is the INFJ and Prozac. So the thumbnail is our INFJ sister Christina Ricci there, not only because she starred in the movie Prozac Nation, which I barely remember, but I did see it like 20 years ago. And she herself was on Prozac for a while for anxiety and anorexia that she developed mostly due to the stresses and the pressure of her job. Well, like Ms. Ricci, I am on Prozac as well for PTSD that stems from my job, or what was my job, which was my dream job as well. And I want to talk about the stigma of, psychiatric care and psychiatric medication, especially from the point of view of an INFJ, because that's my point of view, because I am one. So INFJs, as you all know, we don't like to ask for help. We are not the type to complain or whinge. We're, the type that just finds ways to rise through difficulties, like it says here on my arm under my family crest. It's been there since 2010, literally. My last name, our family words are, I rise through difficulties. And then you got the other side, which is the witchcraft side, but we don't have official words on the Casanova side, although I've been told informally my whole life that it's feminism, witchcraft, and espionage, but which makes sense. I'll do a Casanova video another time. But back to my point, because I go off on tangents from time to time. Psychiatric care, really stigmatized in our society. People get labeled for life. People are afraid to ask for help because of the stigma that goes along with it, especially if you're an INFJ, because you don't like to accept help from anybody, and you don't think that there's anything that you can't just push through, and you don't like to admit that there's any situation that you can't handle on your own. So the idea of expressing your feelings to a medical professional that's a stranger is bloody terrifying. It's just terrifying. But when people around you, notice the change in your behavior, because they'll see it before you do. You won't notice it right away, because it doesn't happen overnight, and, you compensate for so long until you don't, and the people around you who see you every day, like your fellow firefighter recruits, will inform you of how much you've changed over, say, 6 months since they've known you. As I said in other videos, if you would have met me in the beginning of the fire academy that I was in 2020, if you never met me before and you saw me that first week, you would think I was an ENFJ, because my FE was off the charts. And I slowly became more and more and more introverted to levels I haven't been at since probably junior high. So, I already did a video on PTSD. As I said, please view that. That'll make this video make more sense. But Prozac, this little guy here, probably the most widely prescribed psychiatric med of all time, serotonin inhibitor, commonly used for depression. Now, depression and PTSD go hand in hand, because with PTSD you have that feeling of hopelessness, that nothing will ever get better, you'll never be given a fair shot, and you are, damned and bound to a hellish fate that you've don't deserve, that you've fought against for 20 plus years, if you're me. So, the idea, I started therapy long before I started Prozac. I started this not even a month ago. But when I finally, after having to wait months, got an appointment with a psychiatrist, and we talked in detail about a lot of things, and he recommended that it may help. And obviously I was apprehensive at first because the stigma of being on a psychiatric med is not something that I want. I have enough stigmas in my life for being weird. I mean, I'm a demisexual INFJ male witch. So the idea of having another stigma, especially as a male, because I think psychiatric meds are even a little more stigmatized for males, because we're just supposed to, me male, nothing bother me, only medicine I need is beer, kind of thing. We're just supposed to drink our problems away. And, women are a little more, it's dusty in here, are a little more inclined to seek psychiatric help, but that comes with its own stigma, because many times, especially in our male-dominated society, they just get labeled as hysterical and they're blowing things out of proportion. So, many people who could use psychiatric help, first, they can't get it because Ronald Reagan destroyed psychiatric care in this country, and there's far too few mental health professionals, and we have our whole, we don't give our people health care kind of thing, because if you do that, how are you supposed to give corporate welfare and tax cuts for billionaires, and, pork barrel projects for Raytheon and Boeing and all that thing? So we don't have that here. Yeah. Kind of like how every other country took care of their people out of work during COVID. Yeah, we didn't do that either. Can I have a job, UK, please? All right. So, the stigma, of taking psychiatric medicine is pretty high, and I'll admit I was apprehensive at first, because adjusting to it, like the first week or so, get some pretty heavy side effects, and you're like, whoa, my brain feels numb. Like, I don't feel right. I don't like this. I don't like this. And, you worried, like, oh, this isn't worth it. Like, I felt like my intuition itself was being numbed. And I'm like, no, no, I don't want to be a mindless drone normie. No. It's like, don't rob me of my brain. It's all I have left. So, it was a rough week, and I, considered not taking it anymore. And then the side effects went away after about a week. And I've been told from the people around me that I've been, a little better given this medication. Now, I'm not back to, like, where I was, say, in, December 2019, when I'm like, I'm finally moving to a city that's progressive, and I got my dream job. So, like I said, as I mentioned in other videos, 3 big things I wanted out of life. To live in a very progressive urban setting, check. To have a job, that gives me a sense of purpose, allows me to help people, and, provides a solid middle-class living, preferably firefighter, check. And then the only one left, which there's a lot of chance involved, is finding unconditional love. But didn't really get a chance to do that in Arlington, because I was only there a month before the COVID lockdowns began. So, I don't know what the Arlington dating scene is like. Because when there's lockdowns and you're in a fire academy, ain't a whole hell of a lot of time left. But, in our society, the idea of seeking help for mental health is looked down upon, and you're just supposed to muddle through it, struggle through it. Like, even members of my family are just like, well, just, put what happened behind and, go back to, like, working a crappy job in Chester County that you despise. Is what it is. Turn frown upside down. So, never mind all the symptoms of PTSD. Again, see the other video. Never mind you lost everything. Never mind that, you were cheated and there's documents that can prove it, and, this is going to take years to deal with. You're just supposed to be like, oh, well, luck of the draw. kind of thing. So what medication like Prozac does is it helps level out your brain chemistry, because part of the reason why I had this like high feeling for the first couple of days is because my serotonin levels were so ridiculously low, and this tries to level them back to closer to normal, I guess. 20 milligrams, by the way. So, the idea, the positives of it, like I said, the first week's going to be rough. At least it was for me. The positives of a medication like this is after you adjust to it, you have a little more motivation. You're not as mopey. Like, I'll get up and go to the gym and, I still drug myself to my two crappy jobs even before the medication. But you have a little more drive to try to improve your situation. You don't, like, prior to being on the medication, a lot of the time I felt like I was, in a prison sentence with no possibility of parole. But as I said, the stigma of psychiatric medication is what holds a lot of people back. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. I'm just giving my opinions. But if a large percentage of the people around you are telling you it could be helpful, as are multiple mental health professionals, I'd say at least give it a try. I mean, you may not react well to it. Not everybody reacts the same to the same meds. And I'm all for taking the lowest dose possible, because that's what I said to my psychiatrist. I'm like, I want to be on like the absolute lowest dose possible. I don't want to take more than I need or more than what I can handle. I don't want like bad side effects that don't go away. So there's that. It has become in more recent years more socially acceptable to get psychiatric treatment. We understand a lot more about psychiatry and this type of medication than we did in the 1980s when Prozac came out. And it had like almost like a cult following in the 1990s. It was known as the happy pill. I don't see how it's anything anybody would want to take recreationally, but if you are struggling with things like depression, anxiety, and anorexia, like Christina Ricci in the picture there, or PTSD like me, and your doctor suggests it, you may want to give it a try. My psychiatrist told me that Prozac has been the most common medication prescribed for PTSD since the time of the Gulf War in 1991. So at least, I felt a little better going on a medication that's been around for a while, not something that was just pushed out of testing. I still really don't like the idea of being on this medication. I'm told it's helping. If it stops helping, I won't take it anymore. But if it can help me fight to get my life back to where it should be, where I've earned it to be, and I guess it helps. Like I said, I was very hesitant on doing this video and telling you about this, but I figured if I talk about it, somebody might relate to it. Somebody who might be helped by such medication, it might persuade them to give it a try. Because, like empowerment about abuse, many people for years didn't speak up about the abuse they endured because there was a stigma about it. And I know firsthand from my experiences that it is empowering to speak up about your abuse, because you take the power back from your abuser. By letting your story out there, the world will know who your abuser really is, and that significantly lessens the chance for them to have future victims. And if you're like me, you don't want anybody else to have to go through what you went through. Well, it's the same with this. If the stigma is taken away from seeking psychiatric help and taking medication for it, then more people who could be helped by it would at least consider it, instead of fearing from it just because of the old, what will everybody think? And, in Chestertology here, that's like the only thing that matters, other than, what the godlike baby boomers say. So, speak to your mental health professionals if you feel like you need psychiatric treatment or that medication can be helpful. like I said, I did counseling for months before I even accepted an appointment to talk about meds, because I just didn't want to be put on meds first thing. Like, that was, like a last resort for me. It's not like, I feel down, meds, because that reminded me of, if you're my age, I'm 35. If you were in elementary school in the 90s, it was like back then, where it's like any student who doesn't pay attention for like a day, it's like Ritalin now, and that was the culture back then. So, again, understand your situation first, seek counseling, look at your options, and if after months of trying other options, your professionals still think you would benefit from meds, I'd say at least give it a chance, see how you react on it. Sorry this video got rambled off at certain points, but I'm a little nervous making this video. As I said, I was apprehensive about speaking about this on camera. Just remember, trust your own intuition about if you think medicine will help you or not, and don't think your integrity is damaged if you seek psychiatric help or take psychiatric medicine.